General Varkan had not slept in 19 years. He didn't need to. His species, the Jurex, had advanced sleep implants. Most generals slept every night with no dreams, no memories, no pain, but Varkan had removed his implant long ago. He wanted to remember. He needed to. The dream came again, always the same. A black sky, burning ships. A human fleet rising from the ashes, their eyes glowing with rage. Their ships silent. Their weapons ... unstoppable ... And then the voice. One voice. Female, calm. You forgot us, but we never forgot you. Varkan woke with a cold breath, not sweat. Jurex didn't sweat. But if they did, he would have been soaked. He stood up. From the metal slab he used as a bed. It was cold, hard, and uncomfortable, just the way he wanted it. No softness. No lies outside his window. The capital city of Khazar Prime sparkled with lights. Peaceful. Safe. Powerful. But Varkan didn't see peace. He saw weakness. They thought the war was over. That humanity was gone. But he knew the truth. They never found Earth's ruins. Only theories. Only ashes and silence. That silence was never a good sign. General Varkan. A voice called through his command center door. The council awaits you. He didn't respond at first. Then, slowly, he turned. Tell them I'm coming. His aide, a young Jurex captain named Solik, entered. Sir, I wanted to ask, why do you still watch the old war files? The Terran War ended centuries ago. Varkan looked at him, calm but sharp. Did it? Solik hesitated. Well, the records show Earth was destroyed in cycle 4981. There's no life signs, no radio signals, no survivors. Exactly, Varkan said. Too clean. In the Grand Hall of Strategy, high-ranking generals and political leaders gathered. Around a HOLO- table. A soft blue image flickered in the air. A map of the known galaxy, controlled territories, trade routes, military outposts. Everything looked peaceful. General Varkan, High Marshal Kelder, spoke. We are reviewing threats in the Epsilon clusters, pirates, rebels, some minor activity near the Ecker line. Varkan folded his arms, and nothing from the Terran dead zone. The room grew quiet, then laughter. One admiral chuckled. You're still worried about that, Varkan? That ghost field? Even scavengers don't go there anymore. Exactly. Varkan said. Not even scavengers. The room fell silent. He continued. I have fought many enemies. But only one made me afraid. Only one learned during the fight. Only one disappeared on purpose. Kelder sighed. We can't waste time chasing ghosts. Humanity is gone. You defeated them. Be proud. No, Varkan said, voice flat. We didn't defeat them. They let us believe we did. Later that night, Varkan returned to his private chamber deep in the mountains beneath Khazar Prime. He entered the vault. Only he had access. The doors opened with a hiss. Inside, darkness. He spoke a code word. Lights flickered on, screens, files. Wreckage. All human, all forbiddens. He played a file. Old, damaged, but still clear. A recording from the last battle above Earth. The Terran fleet should have been destroyed. But something happened. Their ships vanished. Not exploded. Not captured. Just gone. Worse. The last message from Earth was not a scream. It was a whisper. We are not your enemy yet, but keep pushing. Suddenly his screen blinked red. Incoming message. Class 6. Signal detected. Origin. Terran dead zone. Varkan froze. He tapped the alert. Details flowed in. Source. Binary. Ancient Terran format. Translation pending. Solak's voice buzzed in over comms. Sir, there's a signal from Sector 9F. It's old, but repeating. What does it say? Solak sounded confused. Just one phrase we remember. That's it. Over and over. Varkan stared at the screen. He had seen this before. 19 years ago. Same message, same style. Back then, the council said it was a glitch. This wasn't a glitch. This was a warning. Next morning, Varkan walked into the war command chamber before anyone else. He typed fast on the old terminals. These were disconnected from the galactic network. Safer. He searched all logs connected to binary pattern Zeta-Earth.1 result. A single human escape pod had been detected in the dead zone 50 years ago. The file had been buried. Marked low threat. No follow-up mission was ever launched. He stared at the screen. The file was locked with an old council-level encryption. He bypassed it in seconds. Inside was a short report. Human pod recovered. No life signs. Artificial heartbeat detected. Cryostasis confirmed. Ordered sealed and ignored. Ignored? He slammed his fist on the table. Fools. Solek, he barked into the comms. Ready a stealth cruiser. Full black. Protocols. No official mission log. Sir? We're going to the Terran zone. You mean the ghost sector? I gave an order, Captain. Solek didn't reply. Then, yes, sir. 2 days later, they launched. The stealth cruiser Silent Storm moved without sound, without light. Only Varkan Solak and a small crew were aboard. No one else knew. As they entered the dead zone, sensors died. That was expected. What wasn't expected was the silence. No stars, no signals. Just black. Varkan stood at the main screen. Bring us to the coordinates of the signal. Solak nodded, fingers flying. Then the ship stopped. No. This can't be right, the pilot said. What is it? There's something there. Not a ship, not a station. It's a wall. A wall? Varkan asked. The screen flickered to life. A shape appeared in the dark. A black object. Huge. Flat. Stretching for kilometers. A floating monolith. No energy. No heat. But in the center one small blinking light. Varkan stared. It's a human beacon. They launched a probe. As it reached the monolith, it scanned and sent back data. Suddenly the probe shut down. EMP? Solak guessed. No, Varkan whispered. Judgment. He turned to the crew. Prepare a boarding team. We're going inside. Inside the monolith, it was cold, dead, silent. The walls were black metal, smooth, no seams. No tech ports, nothing. Then they found the chamber. A single pod. Human style. Frosted glass. And inside a woman. Frozen. Alive. Double quotes. Bring her aboard. Varkan ordered. Back on the cruiser, they placed the pod in a secure bay. Scientists scanned it. One heartbeat. One human. She looked young. But her uniform was from the old war era. How is she alive? Solek asked. She never left, Varkan said. He activated the pod. Steam hissed. Lights blinked. Then her eyes opened. They were blue. Cold. Focused. She looked straight at Varkan and said, calmly, Where is the general? The crew froze. Varkan stepped forward. I am General Varkan. She studied him. Then closed her eyes. After a pause, she spoke again. No, not you, the real general. He felt a chill. You mean? He began but couldn't finish. She opened her eyes again. He's coming. You're already too late. The cryo chamber hissed softly as warm air filled the room. The human woman blinked slowly, her body shaking as it reawakened from deep sleep. Frost clung to her hair, and her breath came in short clouds of steam. General Varkan stood beside the pod, watching in silence. The crew looked nervous. None of them had ever seen a living human before. For them, it was like meeting a ghost, but Varkan had seen one before. He remembered. The woman opened her eyes again, calm, focused, cold. Where is the general? She asked, her voice soft but steady. Varkan answered carefully. I am General Varkan of the Khazar Defense Command. She stared at him. Not you, the real general. My commander. You're not him, Varkan frowned. Who do you mean? She didn't answer. She looked around the room. What year is it? Year's 7219, Galactic Standard, she paused. Then whispered, we waited too long. Her name was Lieutenant Ray, that much she shared. But nothing else. Medical scans confirmed she was fully human. No implants, no weapons, no disease. Her body was strong, well preserved. Her brain was active, too active. Where did she come from? Solek asked quietly, walking beside Varkan in the hallway. She was placed there. That pod was no accident, Varkan said. They wanted someone to be found. Solek hesitated. Then why now? Varkan didn't answer. He was thinking the same thing. Ray wasn't just a lost soldier. She was a message. Back on the bridge, the crew ran scans of the monolith where they found her. But now something had changed. There's a new signal, the comms officer said. Same binary, Terran format. But this one's not a message, Varkan turned. Then what is it? It's a command. Everyone stared. What kind of command? Solek asked. The officer swallowed. Coordinates. A location and a code string. Military grade. Varkan stepped forward. Translate and trace it. Minutes passed. Data streamed across the screens. Finally, the officer spoke. Coordinates point to a sector near the galactic core, deep inside Imperial territory. That's impossible, Solek said. Nothing gets through that far without being seen. Varkan's face turned grim. Humans do. Meanwhile, Ray sat alone in the medical room. She stared at the wall. Silent. Still, a nurse offered her water. She refused. Finally, Varkan entered. She didn't look at him. Where were you frozen? He asked. Does it matter? Yes. She turned to him slowly. In a place we called the Fall Gate. A hiding point. A last stand. But not a grave. You were waiting? We were watching. For what? She met his eyes. For your empire to stop pretending. Back on the capital planet Khazar Prime, alarms rang through the central command. A signal had been detected, one no one had seen for over 200 years. A human binary burst. Repeated once every 10 seconds. It didn't match any known distress call. It didn't even come from human space, because humans weren't supposed to exist anymore. Hi. Marshal Kelder stared at the report. Where is this coming from? He asked. A technician looked up, pale. Sir, the dead zone. Sector 9F. Kelder's jaw clenched. Get me General Varkan. But Varkan had already cut communications. He knew what the council would do. Ignore it, hide it, or lie. He needed to move fast. On board the Silent Storm, he prepared a secondary mission. Another jump. This time to the new coordinates sent by the signal. Are you sure about this, sir? Solek asked. We're deep enough already. If something happens... Varkan cut him off. They're calling us. I want to know why. He turned to Ray. You're coming with us. She didn't argue. Of course, it's what we wanted. The second jump was long. Through uncharted routes, black void. Silent space. As they approached the new location, sensors lit up, reading. Debris field, huge, the pilot reported. Origin? Varkan asked. The pilot's voice cracked. Alien, multiple species. No survivors, no signals. Ray stepped forward and looked at the screen. Then she spoke. They came looking for US and paid the price. The cruiser passed through the wreckage. It was a graveyard of ships. Broken hulls, twisted metal, scorched engines. But one thing was strange. None of the ships were looted. In war, even enemies stole from each other. But here, nothing was touched. As if someone wanted this mess left exactly the way it was. They were warned, Ray said. But they didn't listen. Varkan turned to her. By who? She smiled faintly. Not me. Suddenly, the comms panel beeped. New signal. This one was strong. Clear. It spoke in perfect Jurex language. You are trespassing. Turn back. Location of source? Varkun asked. The officer looked up confused. There's nothing out there. But Ray already knew. Scan. In deep field mode. Look for cloak disruptions. They did. A few seconds passed. Then like paint being peeled off the stars, a ship appeared. Massive. Black. Silent. Had no lights. No insignia. No heat signature. But it was clearly human. A dreadnought. The Valkyrie. Its name was etched on the side. In old Terran script, everyone aboard the Silent Storm stood still. In awe, in fear. No one spoke. Because the ship wasn't just big. It was ancient. From the last war. But it looked new. Alive. Ray smiled for the first time. She woke up. The crew scrambled. Should we power weapons? Solik asked. No. Varkan said. That would be suicide. The Valkyrie didn't fire. Didn't move. Just hovered. Watching. Double quotes. Send a signal, Varkan ordered. Request communication. The officer nodded. Sent the signal. No reply. Then the dreadnought moved. Not toward them. Away. Double quotes. Is it retreating? Someone asked. No, Ray said. It's going to finish what we started. Suddenly, another message came in. Not to them. To the galaxy. A public. Broadcast. Short. Simple. Spoken in every known language. We are awake. We are many. We remember. Then silence. The galaxy was watching. Panic would spread fast. And it already had. Back in Khazar Prime, emergency meetings were called. Fleets scrambled. Propaganda units started saying it was fake. Old recordings. Pirate tricks. AI mimicry, but no one believed that for long. Too many signals. Too many eyes saw the Valkyrie. Even other alien empires noticed. They began calling their ships back home. They remembered what happened last time. They remembered Earth's final strike when thousands of ships vanished into black holes without warning. They remembered Project Eclipse. They had mocked humans, then feared them, then tried to erase them. Now they regretted all of it. On board the Silent Storm, Varkun stared at the empty screen where the dreadnought had been. Ray stepped beside him. We thought you might change, she said softly. But nothing ever does. Varkun turned. Why wait so long? Why now? She looked at him. Not angry. Just tired. We gave you peace. You called it weakness. We gave you time. You used it to grow fat and blind. She paused. Now we're done waiting. Back at the Galactic capital, High Marshal Kelder slammed his fist on the war table. How did a human dreadnought get that deep into our space without detection? No one had an answer, because the truth was simple. The humans never left. General. Varkun sent a final message back to the Empire. Short. Coded. Urgent. Humanity has returned. This time. Do not underestimate them. He knew most would ignore it. They always had. But he sent it anyway, because the war had begun again, and this time, it wouldn't be like before. This time, humanity had learned patience, and the galaxy had forgotten fear. The crew stood silent on the bridge of the Silent Storm. The Terran dreadnought Valkyrie had vanished. No engines, no sound, no jump trace. One moment it hovered in the void. The next it was gone. General Varkun's eyes didn't blink. His fingers gripped the railing tightly. She didn't cloak, Ray said behind him. She shifted. Solik turned. Shifted? What do you mean? She moved between the spaces you can't scan, Ray said softly. Places your science doesn't understand. You're saying she teleported? Ray smiled faintly. I'm saying you never knew what humans were truly capable of. Varkun knew they couldn't return home. Not yet. Not when the Empire would try to hide what they had seen. He needed more proof. Scan the debris field again. He ordered. Sir, we've already. Again. He snapped. The The crew obeyed Dot as scanners passed through the wreckage. Something strange happened. One piece of metal floating silently began to glow faint blue. "Sir, we're detecting a power reading." Varkun walked closer to the screen. "On a wreck?" "No, sir. Inside it." A small shuttle was launched. Ray insisted on joining Dot as they moved deeper into the field. The light became clearer. Dot, it wasn't just one wreck. Dot, it was many. Dozens of ships, some old, some new, were pulled together around a core object. "They didn't crash randomly," Ray said. "They were brought here." The shuttle stopped in front of the glowing object. Dot, it was an old Terran command pod, small, round, armored. Dot, inside the glass dome, a human body floated. Dot, frozen. Dot, they brought the pod aboard. Dot, inside, the human was clearly dead. But something was odd. Dot, there were no injuries, no rot. The body looked peaceful, preserved. Even stranger, the body was wrapped in a Terran officer's cloak. Ray stepped closer. "That's a burial suit," she whispered. "We only use those for our best." "Then who is it?" Varkun asked. Ray looked at the tag stitched into the cloak. Her face went pale. "Commander Halen." Solek raised a brow. "Who was he?" Ray didn't answer at first. Her voice was distant. "He was our hope. The first to fight, and the last to stop." As the crew ran scans on the burial pod, something unexpected happened. The ship's lights flickered. Then the systems glitched. The screens turned black. Then a line of text appeared across every screen in the command room. "Who speaks for the dead?" The crew froze. Solek shouted, "Is that coming from the pod?" Ray nodded. "It's not a message, it's a test." "Of what?" "Our intentions." Varkun stepped forward and said firmly, "I do." The text vanished. Then another message appeared. "Then listen." A video began to play. It showed destruction. Hundreds of alien ships attacking the human colony. No resistance. No warning. They wiped out civilians, children, scientists, farmers. The date was 200 years ago. Ray watched with empty eyes. "They called it a raid, your empire, but it was murder." Varkun didn't argue. He had seen that footage before. It had been buried deep. Never shown to the public. The attack had sparked Earth silence, and their fury. The message ended. Silence. Again. Then the power in the ship returned. But now, every crew member felt different. Cold, ashamed, nervous. "They're not just returning," Solek said. "They've been remembering." Varkun nodded. "And preparing." Suddenly, another signal arrived. Encrypted. Strong. Not from the debris field. From a moon nearby. The system showed no moons at first. But when recalibrated, it appeared. A cloaked moon. Ray looked surprised. "That wasn't ours. Then who's hiding there?" Varkun asked. They redirected the ship toward the signal. The closer they got, the more bizarre the readings became. The moon wasn't natural. It was a machine. The silent storm landed carefully on the edge of the hidden moon. As they stepped out, they saw structures, towers half buried in rock, glowing panels, and walls marked with old Earth symbols. "Terran tech," Ray confirmed. "But modified, upgraded. By who?" She touched a panel. It blinked and recognized her DNA. The door opened. Inside, lights turned on one by one, showing a long hallway. Cold air spilled out. And then a whisper came through the speakers. "Lieutenant Ray, access granted." Everyone looked at her. She said nothing. She was just as shocked. They entered a large chamber. It was filled with pods. Hundreds of them. Each one held a human soldier. Sleeping. Waiting. "They're in stasis," Solek said. Ray nodded. "These aren't soldiers. These are guardians." "What's the difference?" She pointed to one pod. "Each of them destroyed a fleet alone, and that was before they were upgraded." Varkun walked slowly through the chamber. "Why keep them here? Why not return to Earth?" Ray looked up. "Because Earth isn't the home you think it is anymore." A deep sound vibrated the walls. Then another door opened. This time, not automatically, someone or something was coming. Weapons. Raised, Varkun stood in front. Figure stepped out from the darkness. Not human. Tall, robotic, but ancient. It spoke in clear Terran English. I am Warden 09, protector of the silence. Are you AI? Varkun asked. I am more. Ray stepped forward. Why now, Warden? Why wake me? Because the silence has been broken. The Watchers have returned. The Empire stirs again. Varkun asked. Do you serve Earth? I serve the Terran legacy. Warden 09 explained everything. This moon was one of several anchor points, left behind by humanity. Not to strike, but to remember. Each one carried stories, evidence, and guardians, placed in hidden places across the galaxy. In case the lies became too loud. In case the truth needed to be shown. Ray turned to Varkun. Now do you see? We didn't disappear. We stepped back. Suddenly, the chamber's alarm went off. One of the stasis pods blinked red. The Guardian inside was waking up. He senses war, Warden 09 said. They always do. The pod opened with a hiss. Out stepped a man in black armor, his face scarred, his eyes bright with purpose. He looked around confused, then locked eyes with Ray. Lieutenant, he said. Status, Ray saluted. Return. Protocol active. Dreadnoughts moving. Memory sites compromised. The man nodded once. Understood. He turned to Varkun. Are you friend or foe? Varkun answered with the only words he had left. I am afraid. General Varkun sat alone in the silent command room of the Silent Storm. His eyes were fixed on the floor, but his mind was far away. Everything he knew was falling apart. Humanity was not extinct. Their ships were not destroyed. Their silence was not surrender. It was a trap. A slow, quiet, perfect trap. And now, they were waking up. Lieutenant Ray entered the room. Her steps were calm, controlled. She didn't speak at first. She simply stood near him, watching him as he tried to process what he had seen. Tell me everything, Varkun said at last, his voice low. No more silence. No more half-truths. I want to know what you did, what you planned, what you waited for. Ray sat down across from him. And for the first time since she had been unfrozen, she spoke without hesitation. We never lost, she said. Her voice was calm, almost sad. We let you think we did. Varkun didn't interrupt. He let her continue. We had won many battles, but we saw something in your kind. Something dangerous. You didn't care about the cost. You didn't care who suffered. You only cared about control. Ray leaned forward. So we made a choice. A painful one. We vanished. You hid? Varkun asked. No, she replied. We removed ourselves from your maps, from your scanners, from your skies. Varkun frowned. But we saw Earth destroyed. Ray nodded. You saw what we let you see. She explained everything. The Terran exodus was real, but it wasn't an escape. It was a plan. Billions of humans left Earth in silence. They moved their colonies into hidden systems. They activated cloaking arrays, quantum decoys, false distress calls. Then, they used Project Eclipse, a massive illusion field, one that made the surface of Earth appear lifeless, burned and broken. In reality, Earth still existed, but it was under a shield even the gods might fear. You could have returned, Varkun said quietly. We wanted to, Ray replied. But we waited for something else first. What? The right story. She stood and walked to the screen, pressed a few buttons. Dozens of images appeared. Videos, recordings, alien attacks on weak colonies. Jurex fleets firing on surrendering vessels. Experiments on human survivors who didn't escape. Varkun looked away. These files are real? Ray's voice turned sharp. Yes, all of them. We collected them from your own warships. From your black archives. You call us monsters, but we never forgot who drew first blood. She paused. Then said softly, You asked why we waited. This is why. Because when we return, we won't just strike back. We'll show the galaxy what really happened. Varkan. Chest felt tight. If this is true, he said, then. We were lied to, all of us. Ray nodded. And now you understand. Suddenly, alarms rang out. The ship shook slightly. Solek's voice buzzed through the intercom. Sir, multiple contacts. Inbound. Imperial ships. They've tracked us. How? Varkan asked. They must have followed our jump trail. Varkan stood. Bridge. Now. He and Ray rushed to the command deck. On the screen, a fleet of Khazar warships appeared, 10 heavy. Destroyers and 2 dread carriers. Broadcasting a message, Solek said. Put it through. A harsh voice filled the room. General Varkan, you are ordered to return immediately. This operation is illegal. Stand down and prepare for transport. Varkan didn't answer. Another voice broke through the line. High Marshal Kelder. You have been compromised, General. We will recover the human specimen and erase all records of this mission. You have failed your duty. Varkan turned to Ray. They'll destroy this ship. Ray nodded. Yes, and they'll bury every truth you've just learned. Varkan stepped forward. Open a secure channel. Solek nodded. Varkan's voice was cold. Sharp. This is General Varkan. I hereby invoke emergency code Omega Zeta 4. You are not to approach this ship. This vessel contains living proof of human survival. Any hostile action will be treated as an act of treason. The response was instant. Code rejected. General, stand down. Ray stepped beside him. You can't win this, not with their rules. He turned. Then what should I do? Break their rules. She placed a small cube on the command table. It blinked blue. Is that a weapon? Solek asked. No, Ray said. It's a truth bomb. The cube glowed brighter. It was a Terran archive core, one of many stored in secret across the galaxy. This one contained every secret the Empire buried, every video, every record, every war crime. Varkan stared at it. Upload it. The cube. Connected to the ship's communication core. Within seconds, it began transmitting to every network, every station, every data feed. Across the galaxy, screens flickered. Messages appeared. And then the images started. A child burned in a blast. Colony destroyed after waving a white flag. A human crew dissected in a secret lab. And then, the voice. We never disappeared. We were watching. And now we speak. The enemy fleet hesitated. There comes. Fell silent. Orders stopped coming. The truth was out. It couldn't be erased. Kelder's voice returned, shaky. You've doomed. US all. They'll turn on us, Varkan replied coldly. Then maybe they should. Suddenly, a warp signal was detected. Large. Fast. Human. Everyone looked up. The Valkyrie had returned. It emerged from the void behind the Empire's fleet. No sound. No message. No warning. Just a presence. A shadow of old Earth's wrath. Kelder panicked. Defensive. Formation. All ships. But it was too late. The Valkyrie opened a silent channel. A deep voice echoed into every mind. Not just through speakers. Into them. You lied. We listened. Now we answer. Then nothing. No flash. No blast. Just silence. And when the silence passed, all 12 enemy ships were gone. Not destroyed. Erased. Our single quotes stared at the screen. He whispered, That was a warning. Ray answered, That was mercy. She turned to Varkan one last time. You've seen the truth. You know what's coming. He nodded. What now? Now, Ray said. The galaxy chooses. Stand with the truth. Or vanish with the lie. The galaxy went quiet. For the first time in centuries, every screen, satellite, and listening station received the same message from humans. The words were few, but powerful. We remember everything. And then, silence. But this time, it was not empty. This silence was the sound before the storm. General Varkan stood on the bridge of the silent storm, staring into the black. The enemy fleet was gone. No wreckage. No survivors. Just empty space. And behind that silence, the Valkyrie, the Terran dreadnought, hovered in the distance, motionless, watching. It had not fired any weapon. It hadn't needed to. Solak whispered, "What kind of ship is that?" Ray stood beside him. "It's the last dreadnought. The last of the old Earth warships. It vanished during the final days of the war." Varkan looked at her. "How did it survive?" Ray's voice dropped. "It didn't survive. It waited." Back on Khazar Prime, the High Command was in chaos. Screens flickered with reports. News feeds were filled with Terran evidence, colonial attacks, cover-ups, secret prisons. The truth spread faster than any weapon. Empires that once mocked humanity were now asking questions. Who else knew? Who helped hide the past? And where were the rest of the Terran fleets? Admiral Vrek of the Decal Consortium sent out an emergency broadcast. "We demand full transparency. Was humanity destroyed or hidden?" The Galactic Union called an emergency session, but no one had answers, because no one had ever seen the Valkyrie return. On board the Silent Storm, Ray turned to Varkan. "She's not alone." Varkan blinked. "What do you mean?" Ray stepped to the control panel and typed in a series of old Terran codes. A secret network activated, unknown to the galaxy. Humanity had left behind a hidden relay system. One code connected them all. Within seconds, dozens of new signals lit up across the galactic map, each signal a human dreadnought. Cloaked. Waiting. Solek stared at the screen. "There are 38 of them?" Ray nodded. "That's just in this sector." Varkan stepped back. "How many sectors?" Ray didn't answer. Her silence was enough. Suddenly, the Valkyrie sent a direct transmission. Not text. Not sound, but video. The screen lit up. A dark room. Cold light. A man stood in the center. Black armor, pale eyes, gray beard. He was human, but more augmented, enhanced. He looked into the camera, spoke slowly. "I am Commander Rain, Terran Fleet. You once called us extinct. You were wrong." He paused. "You lied, you erased. You conquered in our absence. Now, we are awake." Another pause. "We do not seek war, but we remember. If you choose peace, speak now. If not," his voice dropped, "we will speak last." Then the screen went black. Solek was pale. That was a declaration." Varkan nodded. "No, that was a warning." Khazar Prime scrambled their fleets. Thousands of ships were deployed across borders. Colonies were put on alert. And yet, none of the Terran ships moved. They simply hovered. Silent, patient. Watching. It made the Empire more nervous than any attack. On board the Valkyrie, Commander Rain stood before a star map. His officers worked in silence. Old veterans, born in space, trained for only one thing: the return. They had waited 200 years in cryo-sleep. Now, the order had been given. Phase 1. Reveal the truth. Complete. Phase 2. Wake the DREADNOU GHTs. In progress. Phase 3. Await the galaxy's answer. Back on the Silent Storm, Ray stared out the window. "You wanted to understand us, General," she said. "Now you see the surface. But there's more." "Then tell me," Varkan said. Ray turned. Her eyes were sharp. "Humans don't strike first, but we always finish it." She told him about the Void War protocols, buried in deep Terran AI mines. If humanity was ever wiped from the galaxy's record, the Ayas would wait, gather data. Build weapons in secret. And when the time was right, they'd awaken key commanders like Rain and Ray. And now it had begun. Varkan walked to the holotable. Map showed shifting colors. Red for the Empire. Blue for the Terran forces. Each day, more blue lights appeared, but no shots were fired. That made the red panic more. They're forcing us to reveal our true face, he said. Yes, Ray answered. Because that's what the galaxy fears most. Solak turned. What? Ray's voice was cold, looking into a mirror. Suddenly, a small beeping came from the comms desk. New signal detected. Encrypted. From the Empire. Personal. Channel. To via our single quotes. He opened it. The face of High Marshal Kelder appeared, but he looked different. Now. Not angry, afraid. Varkan. The council is breaking. Alliances are falling apart. I ask you, what should we do? Varkan looked at Ray. Then back at the screen. I think you already know the answer. Kelder hesitated. You want peace? I want the truth. And peace, built on lies, is just war in slow motion. Kelder sighed. Then send a message to the humans. Tell them, we're listening. The next day, a Terran ship entered the capital system. Slow, unarmed, alone. It broadcasted only one phrase. Begin the talks. And just like that, the most feared species in galactic history sat at the table again. Not to beg, not to threaten, but to give one final choice. The great halls of the Galactic Council had never been this silent. For the first time in living memory, a human stood inside. Commander Rain. Tall, quiet, armored in deep black. No medals, no army, no weapons, but everyone knew he didn't need any. The fear in the room was louder than any war horn. General Varkan stood beside him, the only non-human in the chamber who trusted the Terran. High Marshal Kelder watched. From the edge of the chamber, pale, ashamed, he had ordered the destruction of the Terrans 2 centuries ago. Now he was shaking hands with one. The talks began, not with demands, not with threats, but with proof. Rain placed a small sphere on the center table. It lit up and began projecting images. Dark secrets, real footage. Unedited. A peaceful human colony in orbit around a green moon burned to ash by Imperial drones. Children in stasis pods taken, used in tests. Survivors erased from galactic records. Entire star systems marked cleansed with no reason given. The crowd of leaders watched in horror. Some wept, some turned away. None could deny what they saw. These were the lies your empire buried, Ring said quietly. We didn't come back to take revenge. We came to make sure no one forgets again. A Decal delegate stood. Why didn't you strike first? You had the power, the fleets, the ships. Rain turned slowly. Because power isn't the goal. Memory is. He tapped the sphere again. More files appeared. Names, locations, codes. The humans hadn't just hidden, they had watched. Back aboard the Silent Storm, Solak reviewed the files being released. I don't understand, he said to Ray. Why didn't they destroy us when they had the chance? Ray stood in front of the viewing window, her face unreadable. Because that would have made us like you, she said. The old you. The one that built an empire on ashes. Solak turned. And now we offer the galaxy a second chance. Varkan had seen enough. He stormed out of the chamber and walked to the council archives, once the most secure data vault in the empire. Now, the doors stood open. Terran AI had decrypted it in less than an hour. Inside, Varkan saw the files. Read the truth. And it broke him, centuries ago. When the first Terran colonies started rising, the Empire feared humanity's rate of progress. Not their violence, not their armies, but their minds. Humans adapted faster than any species ever recorded. In 80 years, they had matched 10,000 years of alien progress. So, the Empire acted. Silently, swiftly. And UNFORGIVABO. Why? They started wars without names. They killed leaders and blamed rebels. They hacked Terran AI to appear unstable. They forced the war. And then pretended they won. Varkan walked back to the chamber. Shoulders heavy. He approached Rain. Everything Ray said was true. Rain nodded. Yes. Then I ask you, why let me live? Why speak to us at all? Rain's eyes held no hate, only fire. Because even after all your crimes, your people still have a choice. On dozens of worlds, riots broke out. Citizens demanded answers. Empire propaganda collapsed. Some leaders tried to silence the truth, but it was too late. Terran memory spheres were everywhere. Once activated, they couldn't be stopped. They whispered the truth into every corner of the galaxy. But not everyone wanted peace. Some saw the Terrans' return as a challenge, a new reason to fight. On the distant planet Urex-4, a rogue fleet commander named Haven declared war. We will not kneel to ghosts. We will not bow to the Earthborn. He launched an attack on a known Terran outpost, a relay station, hidden inside an asteroid belt. His ships arrived with full firepower, but found only silence. No return fire. No defenses. Just one message playing on a loop. This is your first mistake. It will be your last. A second later, Haven's fleet was gone. No explosion. Just dash erased. The asteroid belt remained untouched. But every ship, every soldier, was dust. News spread fast. Across the galaxy. Leaders realized something terrifying. Humanity didn't need to fire first, because they controlled the battlefield before it began. Back on the Silent Storm, Ray met with Varkan in the command room. He was quiet, almost broken. She placed a small data drive in front of him. What is this? He asked. The full story, from both sides. Our recordings, your own hidden files, unedited, for you to keep. Why give this to me? Because when the war almost returns, someone must remind them why it shouldn't. Varkan took the drive. And for the first time in years, he felt purpose. Kelder tried to stop the truth. He ordered soldiers to seize the Terrans during the peace talks. It failed. The soldiers refused to fire. They had seen the memory files. Some had family on Earth long ago. Some were saved by human medics. During the Forgotten Wars, some simply couldn't fight people who never attacked. First. Commander Rain walked freely out of the council chambers. No guards stopped him. No ships followed. He left one final message behind. We don't need war to win. We need memory. And now the galaxy remembers. The galaxy was changing. Not with fire. Not with battle cries, but with truth. Memory had become the new weapon. And humanity was its master. On the outer colonies of the Khazar Empire, screens still flickered with old Imperial broadcasts. But now, something new appeared in their place. Terran memory beacons. They were small, silent, impossible to block. And every time one lit up, it told a story. Not fiction. Not propaganda. Just raw truth. A doctor burned alive for helping Terran civilians. A child hiding in an air vent while soldiers stormed her home. A human commander surrendering, then shot in the back. And then, a whispered promise. We remember. And now so do you. Entire sectors began to defect, not to war, but to truth. Leaders couldn't silence their people anymore. Rogue governors surrendered without a fight. Some begged the Terrans for forgiveness. Others sent Terran signals of peace, but not all. Some still chose denial. And those were about to face something much worse than fire. High above the planet Velex 9, a council leader named Grask activated a powerful jammer to block all Terran data. No more lies. He shouted, they poison our people. But it was too late, because memory, once seen, cannot be forgotten. And Terran memory wasn't just in data. It was in people. His own guards turned on him. One removed his helmet and revealed a tattoo small, hidden behind the ear, Terran writing. He was a descendant of survivors. You erased my family, the soldier said. Now, I erase your rule. Meanwhile, General Varkan was traveling across systems. With Ray. Not as enemies, but as witnesses. They visited old battlegrounds, now silent fields, covered in dust. They activated ancient memory markers, small devices buried by Earth centuries ago. Each one held a voice, real voices, old soldiers, mothers, survivors. Their messages played across the stars. If you find this, know we tried. No, we didn't want this war, but if we lose, please remember us. In one quiet valley, they found a ruined Terran ship. Varkun entered with Ray. Inside, they found bodies. Preserved. Frozen in time. Mother held her son in a sealed cryo-cradle. She had shielded him with her own body when the blast hit. Varkun stood frozen. He couldn't look away. She died protecting him. He whispered. Ray nodded. That's who you fought. People who only wanted to live. And then the boy's eyes opened. The cradle had preserved him. Alive. Sleeping for over 200 years. He blinked slowly, confused. Afraid. Ray stepped forward. It's okay. You're safe now. He reached for her hand. They brought the child to the silent storm. He didn't speak much, but when he did, it was simple. Is it over? Varkun looked at Ray. She answered softly, almost. At the edge of the galaxy, in a system long thought abandoned, the last Terran archive came online. The one they called the Heart. It was different from the rest. Not just stories. Not just proof, but a memory weapon. An AI designed to project the full truth into every corner of the galaxy. Images, feelings, sounds, even pain. Anyone who received the broadcast wouldn't just see what happened. They would feel it. The fear, the screams. The betrayal. Inside the chamber, Commander Rain stood before the AI core. A red button blinked slowly. Ray's voice came through his cum. Are you sure you want to use it? Rain didn't answer at first. He looked into the core. He saw everything again. The burning ships. The silence of space. The last Earth broadcast. And then, he spoke. We gave them a chance. Ray's voice replied, and some listened. But not all, Rain said. And for the ones who didn't. He pressed the button. Across the stars, everything changed. People froze mid-sentence. Pilots stopped mid-flight. Children dropped their toys. Leaders clutched their chests, because the memory wasn't just playing. It was inside them. Grask, the council leader who denied the war, fell to his knees. He saw everything through the eyes of the Terran child. He felt the fear of hiding in the dark. He heard his own voice ordering the bombings. He screamed. Then he wept. The broadcast lasted only 10 minutes, but those 10 minutes broke more armies than any weapon. Ships turned around. Bases surrendered. Borders opened. And on more than 1,000 worlds, flags fell. Back on the silent storm, Varkun sat beside the boy they had saved. He handed the child a data slate with pictures of Earth. What's that? The boy asked. That's your home. Is it still there? Varkun smiled. Faintly, yes, and it's waiting. Ray stood at the viewing deck. Solek approached her. You used memory as a weapon, he said. No, she replied. We used it as a mirror. Will they forgive us? Ray looked out at the stars. Some will. Some won't, but we didn't come for forgiveness. Then what did you come for? She turned slowly. To be remembered properly. The stars were quiet, not from fear, but from understanding. The final Terran broadcast had swept through every species, every world, every city. For 10 minutes, the galaxy had seen through human eyes. Now no one could pretend anymore. The lie was gone. Only truth remained. On the bridge of the silent storm, General Varkun watched the stars drift by. Beside him, the human boy they had rescued slept peacefully in a cot. He no longer asked about war. He no longer asked if he was alone. Now he only asked when he could see Earth. Varkun had no answer. So he waited until someone gave him one. Commander Rain stood on the deck of the Valkyrie, staring at an old flickering screen. A countdown was running, 0 hours 4 minutes and 21 seconds. 0 hours 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Behind him stood the last generation of Earthborn commanders, cloned, trained. Silent. They watched Rain closely, waiting for his final decision. Ray's voice came through on the come again. If we play the message, it ends here. Rain closed his eyes. Yes, no more war, no more hiding, just the truth. One last time, he turned to his crew. Connect us to everything. Across every ship, world, station, and colony. Every screen lit up. Even systems that hadn't responded to the last broadcast were forced online. This wasn't a hack. This was invitation. The galaxy held its breath. And then Earth spoke. It wasn't a general. Not a soldier. Not a threat. It was a woman's voice. Warm, calm. Old, but not broken. I was 10 when they took my home. I watched the sky burn. I heard my mother whisper, "Close your eyes." But I didn't. I watched everything. And I remembered. The screen faded in. A woman sat beside a campfire. Behind her, ruined cities, shattered towers, empty roads swallowed by green. But her face glowed with something rare in war stories, peace. We could have fought back harder. We could have destroyed them all. But we didn't, because war doesn't make you win. It just makes you empty. On Velex 9, Grask wept quietly. On the Jurex moon colonies, rebels lowered their weapons. On the Khazar throne world, even Kelder knelt as the message continued. We waited. We remembered. And now we've shown you what we saw. That is enough. What you do next is your choice. The screen faded again. Now it showed Earth, real Earth, not destroyed. Not burning. Green forests, oceans, cities covered in glass domes. Children playing under the sky. Life. Real, peaceful human life. Ray whispered as she watched. That's home. Solek stood behind her, stunned. It survived? No, Ray said. We survived. The planet only followed. The message played its final words. The woman smiled. We are not your enemy. We are your memory. Forget us. And you forget what you could become. Remember us, and maybe you'll become more. The screen blinked, then faded to black. No signal. Followed. No army marched. No dreadnought moved. Only silence. And then from 1,000 worlds, they began to speak. The Trelith Council passed a decree to open history books, real ones. The Decal shared their own war secrets, buried even deeper than Earth's. The Jurex offered reparations to the last Terran survivors. And on the Khazar worlds, something unthinkable happened. The people demanded peace. Varkon returned to the chamber where it all began. He faced the same council that once ordered silence, war, and covered dash-ups. This time, he did not kneel. I submit. Evidence, he said clearly. That humanity never sought conquest. They sought to be left in peace. Kelder stood. And what do you seek now, General? Varkon looked around. The room was still. He said softly, justice. Later that night, Varkon met Ray on the viewing deck. The boy stood between them, pointing out stars. Is Earth there? Ray shook her head. Earth doesn't shine like other stars. It waits. Will they let me see it? Varkon smiled. They already said yes. 1 week later, a small ship exited warp near an unmarked blue planet. Earth, alive, real, beautiful. The ship carried no weapons. Only passengers. Varkon, Ray, Solek, the boy. They stepped onto Earth's soil with no guard, no fear. And as they looked up, thousands of humans gathered to greet them. No flags. No armies. Just open hands. And a single sign, written in simple words. You came to listen, so now we welcome you. That day, Earth became more than a planet again. It became a memory, shared by all. A place where truth lived. Where war ended. Where peace was not a pause, but a beginning. The end.